dreamers! You're watching Pixels and Dreams, Weaving the Magic of Games, and my name's Renee Gittens. Today we're going to talk about how to get started with video game development. It's actually really simple. There's one thing that you need to do. You need to start. I know that sounds reductive, right? It's too simple, but it's the truth. Game development is scary, right? It can be scary. There's a lot of places to fail. Video games are very personal. You're often putting yourself out there, your thoughts, your creativity, your hopes. It's also easy to make video games that are way too big, to try to create a huge MMO with hundreds of levels and monsters and boss fights and professions and stories and quests. And for a small team, maybe even just one person, it's going to be really, really difficult, if not impossible, to create something that large. Unfortunately, making video games itself can just be hard. You can run into bugs and frustrations. Something that you thought was going to be fun can turn out to not actually feel fun to play. Of course, many of these issues are potential in any project. If you shake off your fears, where do you start? Well, all video games start with an idea, a simple core, a concept. And I encourage you to play with that idea, to write down what you think it should be, what it could be, different elements of it. If there's going to be story, what the high-level story is, who the main character would be. If there's going to be, mechanics, if there's leveling, or if there's combat or creatures or challenges, what those challenges are going to be. If there's items you can buy and what items might do. You don't need to define everything, but you need to get a little bit of a vision of what you think your game would do, what it will be. Maybe just a page or two of notes. Once you go through that concept, I encourage you to make what is fondly called an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is a few simple sentences that describes your game, the core components of the game, and what makes it unique and interesting. Because not only is your elevator pitch fun for being able to tell people about your game, so you know what to say, but it can also be your guiding light, your star that allows you to focus your efforts so you don't get sidetracked with something that seems really cool, but turns out isn't very helpful for the game and the concepts that you have. An example of an elevator pitch is the pitch for the game I'm working on, Potions: A Curious Tale. Potions: A Curious Tale is an adventure crafting game where combat's not always the answer. You play as a young witch named Luna, who's recently discovered her ability to brew magical potions. And she can use these potions as spells to engage with monsters, solve puzzles, and overcome other obstacles on her quest to become a potions master. That's only 2 sentences. But it tells you the type of game, that there's a main character, that there's going to be a story, that there's progress of her becoming a potions master, that the potions are spells that you can use, that there's going to be puzzles to solve, that there's going to be monsters to engage with, but that combat's not always the answer, and that there's some other obstacles on the way. In 2 sentences, it tells you a lot about the game. And when I came up with that pitch, it allowed me to evaluate some of the other components I was considering, features I was considering in my game that I decided wouldn't work towards that goal, that elevator pitch of mine. I had considered having a store system where you would sell your potions, a request system where people could come in and order potions and you'd have time to fulfill those orders, as well as a whole like day-night cycle system and keeping and tracking of time. But I decided that those features, even though I came up with them in my initial concept, weren't core to the experience of Luna becoming a potions master and exercising her skills and abilities and overcoming obstacles and solving puzzles and engaging with enemies. So I decided to cut them out. A lot of game development isn't so much about growing a really big idea, but it's about pruning an idea into a shape that is the most compelling, that speaks with you the most. It's really easy to want to put everything into a game, but then the game doesn't have the opportunity to shine through. There's too much going on. It's like if you were trying to make a sandwich and you put everything on it. You put ham and pickles and mustard and Nutella and sprinkles and jam and peanut butter. It doesn't all go together, right? It ends up being a bit too many flavors. Now, that's not to say you can't have some strange and new flavor combinations that other people haven't thought of, but you probably only want to try 1 or 2 strange ingredients together, not 20 of them. So I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea of how to come up with the initial concept of your game. And really, it's a fun part. You can make multiple concepts. You can try making, 3, 4, 5, 10 different concepts before you move forward with planning one out. And the first part of that plan is creating a prototype. Just a simple version of that game and seeing if it'll be fun to play. I hope that you can come up with some ideas and that one of them speaks to you enough that you'll want to move on to that next stage.